They don't miss you. They miss access to you. And the difference between those two things is exactly why you're still stuck. Because if it were really about love, they would have chosen you. But they didn't. They left. Or they pulled away. Or they slowly disappeared in a way that made you question your own reality. And yet, they never fully let you go. A message. A reaction. A random return. Just enough to remind you they still exist. Not enough to stay. That's not confusion. That's design. You keep asking yourself one question: if they don't want me, why are they still here? But the real question is much more uncomfortable. Why do they need you to still be available without ever committing to you? Because losing you completely would mean losing control. And control doesn't always look like dominance. Sometimes it looks like distance. They don't need your presence. They need your attention. They need to know that somewhere in your mind, they still matter. That they can leave and still be felt. That they can disappear and still be remembered. That they can hurt you and still be wanted. And the most dangerous part, you call this connection. You tell yourself, it's complicated, we have something special, they just need time. But what you're really experiencing is intermittent reinforcement. Not love, not connection. A pattern. Sometimes they're warm. Sometimes they're cold. Sometimes they open the door just enough for you to step in before they close it again. And your brain, it gets addicted to that uncertainty because unpredictability creates obsession, not stability. You don't fall for consistency. You fall for the possibility of it. So you wait. You analyze. You replay conversations. You read between lines that were never written. And every time they come back, even for a moment, it feels like proof. Proof that it meant something. Proof that you weren't crazy. Proof that maybe, just maybe, this isn't over. But it never begins either. And that's where the trap tightens. Because now you're not chasing them. You're chasing resolution, closure, clarity, a final answer that never comes. Because if they gave you a clear answer, they would lose the one thing they're protecting: your emotional availability. As long as you're unsure, you stay connected. As long as you're hoping, you don't leave. And as long as you don't leave, they don't have to choose. This isn't about love. This is about emotional positioning. They keep you close enough to feel, but far enough to avoid responsibility. And you stay because part of you believes if they keep coming back, it must mean something. It does. But not what you think. It means you're still open, still responsive, still reachable. And to someone who fears real intimacy, that's the perfect distance. Close enough to matter, far enough to escape. And the more you try to understand it, the deeper you fall into it. Because your mind is trying to solve a puzzle that was never meant to be solved. It was meant to keep you thinking. And thinking feels like connection. Here's the truth you've been avoiding: they can't let you go. Because you still hold a version of them they don't want to lose. Not who they are, but who they were with you. With you, they were wanted, chosen, seen in a way they don't experience anywhere else. And walking away from you means walking away from that version of themselves. So they don't, not completely. They leave just enough to avoid commitment, but stay just enough to avoid loss. That's not love. That's preservation. They're preserving access to how you make them feel. And you, or preserving hope. And that's why this never ends. Because both of you are holding onto something that no longer exists. You think you're holding onto them, but you're actually holding onto potential. And they're not holding onto you. They're holding onto reflection. The way you saw them. The way you made them feel important. The way you gave without forcing them to grow. And that's the part they can't replace easily. So they return, not to build something real, but to reconnect with that feeling. And every time you respond, you confirm something dangerous: that they don't have to change to keep you. Read that again. They don't have to become better, more consistent, more present. Because you're still there, still understanding, still waiting, still hoping they'll finally choose you. But here's the shift: they already did choose. They chose the version of you that accepts less than you deserve. And as long as that version exists, they will keep coming back to it. Not because they love you deeply, but because it's easy, familiar, safe, And most importantly, it doesn't require them to grow. So the question is no longer, why can't they let me go? The real question is, why are you still available to someone who already left? Because the moment you stop responding, stop explaining, stop being emotionally reachable, something breaks. Not in you, in the pattern. Because attachment needs access. And without access, it dies, not dramatically, not instantly, but inevitably. And that's the part they fear. Not losing you as a person, but losing the ability to return. Because once you truly detach, there is no door left half open. There is no version of you waiting quietly in the background. There is only absence. And absence cannot be controlled. So they hold on. As long as you do. But the moment you see it clearly, really see it, something shifts. You stop romanticizing inconsistency. You stop calling confusion depth. You stop mistaking emotional chaos for connection. And suddenly, the thing that once felt powerful starts to look small, predictable, and empty. Because real connection doesn't keep you guessing. It doesn't disappear and reappear. It doesn't make you question your worth. It stays, and if it doesn't stay, it doesn't deserve access to you. That's the truth. Not soft, not comforting, but clean. They didn't stay because they loved you. They stayed because you didn't leave.